Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Gauranga. Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Nitai Gaur. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Hare Hare. Hare Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama. Hare Hadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Nama. Hare Hadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Nama. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madhura Mohan. Giridhari Gopinath Madhura Mohan. Haribo, 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 Gaur, Haribo. Nitai Gaur, Haribo, 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 Gitai Gaur, Haribo. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Gaur Premanande, Hari Haribo, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahams Parivachakacharya Astotara Satra Shri Srimani His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. His confounder Acharya, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada King. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahans Parivachakacharya Astotara Satra Shri Sriman His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj King. Ananta Gauri Vaishnavinda King. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur King. Sri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopal Das Raghunath Sad Goswami King. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda King. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopina Shyamakund Radhaku Giri Govardhan King. Vrindavan Dham King. Navadvip Mayapur Dham King. Sri Jagannath Puri Dham King. Ganga Maya King. Jamuna Maya King. Tulasi Devi King, Bhakti Devi King, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda King, Sri Sri Panchatattva King, Sri Sri Madan Mohan King, Sri Sri Gauranitai King, Sri Harinam Sankirtan King, Transcendental Book Distribution Christmas Marathon King, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Gauranga. Yasomati Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Raya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yasodanandana Brajajanarhanjana Yasodanandana Brajajanarhanjana Jamunatira Vana Chari Jama Jamuna Tira Vana Chari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Give me a clean rag for cleaning this. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Gopijana Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yasodanandana Brajajanarhanjana Yasodanandana Brajajanarhanjana Jamunatira Vacharim Jamunatira Vacharim Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. A lot of dust on the Bhagavatam. If you don't clean it, the dust sticks on. And it looks like the design of the cover, but it's not. It's the dust. Number one principle in temple life is cleanliness. Can't have it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 8, chapter 12, verse number 37. Mohini Murti bewilders Lord Shiva. Okay. Tam aviklavam aridam alakshya madhusudanaha uvacha parama prito bibrat swam paurusim tanum tam aviklavam aridam alakshya madhusudanaha uvacha paramam prito bibrat swam parusim tanum. Chant. Ladies.
Tam aviklavam avriddam alakshya madhusudanaha vacha parama prito bibrat swam paurushim tanum
Tam avriddam alakshya madhusudanaha vacha parama prito bibrat swam paurushim tanum.
Anyone else? Tam, him, Lord Shiva, aviklavam, without being agitated by the incident that had taken place. Avridam, without being ashamed. Laksha, seeing. Madhu Sudanaha, Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Madhusudana, the killer of the demon Madhu. Uvacha, said, Paramam Pritaha, being very pleased. Bibrat, assuming. Swam, his own. Paurusim, original. Tanum, form. Translation. Seeing Lord Shiva unagitated and unashamed, Lord Vishnu, Madhusudana, was very pleased. He thus resumed his original form and spoke as follows. Purport. Although Lord Shiva was aghast at the potency of Lord Vishnu, he did not feel ashamed. Rather, he was proud to be defeated by Lord Vishnu. Nothing is hidden from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for he is indeed in everyone's heart. Indeed, the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya hamridhi sani visto, mata smirta jnanam apohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and for me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Whatever happened had taken place under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore there was no cause to be sorry or ashamed. Although Lord Shiva is never defeated by anyone, When defeated by Lord Vishnu, he felt proud that he had such an exalted and powerful master. Om Gyantimidandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharini Nivase Sasunivari Vasarya Desatarane Panchatattva Makam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Svarupakam Bhakta Avatar Bhakta Kyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Panchakalpatarupascha Kripasinaveva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Rama, not Ramo, Rama. No Ramos allowed. This is not the Italian barbers. It's Rama. He's God. Okay. So this particular purport is similar to yesterday's purport, or the day we did previous verse. Although Lord Shiva was apparently put in a very awkward situation, he didn't feel ashamed. He wasn't agitated. In fact, he felt proud. This is quite incredible when you think about it. You know, anybody who would have been put in that situation would have been embarrassed, ashamed, or in some ways felt negative. Shiva felt the opposite. And it's interesting because his feeling actually pleased the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is an interesting point because in our Krishna conscious practice, sometimes we're put into difficult situations by the arrangement of the Lord. And we should also think and also appreciate that it's by the arrangement of the Lord that this particular situation has come upon me. And therefore, there's an opportunity for me to become more purified in Krishna consciousness, to make more advancement in spiritual life. The whole process of devotional service is to become purified. That's the process. And Krishna is always arranging through the external energy, or sometimes even directly, many times directly, for his devotee to get purified. Sometimes we don't like that. We think everything should go on really nice. And, you know, Prashadam should be nice, and everybody should be nice, and the weather should be nice, and the temple should be nice, and the temple president shouldn't bother me. So many different things. We think, oh, I'm in Hare Krishna land, everything is supposed to be nice, that's what the books say. But it's not like that. It is nice, but it's not. But it's nice from another angle of vision. It's nice because it's good for you. It's good for you. It's actually, there's some meaning or some message that is there to help us become a little better at executing Krishna consciousness. So Krishna is always doing that through the external energy, through his devotees, through situations. And Shiva's been put into this situation, and he's like, and it's, you know, Prabhupada makes that point, he's never defeated, and he was now defeated. Shiva never gets defeated. He's very powerful, extremely powerful. And in fact, sometimes they say he's more powerful than Lord Brahma. But his power has been, what we say, checked by the Lord's superior power, the Supreme Person. This is another example of those who have a problem with deciding who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's always contentions sometimes between people in different traditions that, yes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as it says in the Shiva Purana, is Lord Shiva. Or in other Puranas also mentions. But then again, throughout the Vedic literatures, Krishna is given that exalted position by the scriptures. So sometimes there's a quandary, a discussion, sometimes even argument. Who's the supreme? So when we go through the Bhagavatam, we find various incidents that help us understand this point clearly, that Krishna is the supreme and Shiva is simply his servant. More than his servant, he's that perfect servant. He's Vaishnavanam Yata Sambhu. So exalted, so powerful. And you think, well, when a person is powerful and exalted and never gets defeated, once they get defeated, there might be some change in their attitude. But not Shiva. He actually was happy to get defeated, proud to get defeated, and felt, wow, I have such a great master. This is nice. Sometimes we see in our Krishna conscious, the spiritual master tells you what to do, and you don't like it. You're defeated. On paper you're defeated, but not in your mind. No, he doesn't know the whole story. I'm going to write him a letter. Not a letter, I'm going to write him actually a book explaining my position. And so, yeah, we get that. Because it's the duty of the spiritual master to push the disciple forward. That's their duty, to give them a little bit of a push in a certain direction so they somehow wake up to something or understand something better, become a little bit more detached. Something. That's why it's always good to have the association of the spiritual master. Or we might say the association of senior devotees who can also have that same effect upon us. If we get too lax and too easy and start just taking Krishna consciousness very easy, and then Maya just walks in and just makes a mess out of you. Just takes you and dusts the floor with you. And then pretty much after some time you're realizing what the hell happened, It's like, because you're taking it easy. This process, you can't take it easy. Because material energy is so strong, it's always pushing. As Prabhupada makes the example, the material energy is like a river flowing in a certain direction. And it's flowing pretty fast. And when you're trying to swim in the opposite direction, so you have to swim against the current. So you have to learn to become a good swimmer. And if you're proficient enough, you can swim against the current to a certain degree. But if you start, floating on your little raft, or you start, just doing little baby strokes there, then all of a sudden the water will push you back and then in the same direction it's going. So this is material energy. We have to always be on top of that every minute, not every minute, every millisecond. And we have to be Krishna conscious. There's no in between. So as soon as you forget Krishna, or as soon as you start thinking everything is nice, it is nice. I'm a devotee. I'm in the association with other devotees. I have the process of the devotional service. I have so much service. I have a wonderful master. All these things make everything nice, but that makes you understand that you have to work and continue to and struggle in Krishna consciousness. It's a struggle. And then the ultimate principle is you go back home, back to Godhead. If you fail to struggle now, then you'll have to struggle next life and try again. Excuse me. And you can't avoid the struggle. That's just the way the material energy is. And as Prabhupada uses 3 points, he says, the material energy is very strong. The living entity is small, very small, tiny, jiva. And Krishna is a hoksaja. He said these are the three obstacles. Krishna is beyond the reach of your senses. Material energy is always pushing you in a certain direction. And you're very tiny. You're not very able to deal with that. So there are so many defects from our position. But then again, the mercy is there. You have to take the mercy. And we should always thinking how to improve our Krishna consciousness. What do I have to do, or what attitude do I have to adopt? Something to make me more serious and more effective in the execution of my devotional service. Devotees should always be thinking like that. Not that we go through the activities of devotional service, we remain very lackadaisical. Devotee's mind is always working. It doesn't sleep. That's what we do later on. When it comes, when the sun out, and keep the eyes open when the sun is out. When the darkness comes, then after some time those eyelids start to slowly close. But yeah, so that's why they say Jeev Jago, Gauda Chanda Bole, Kota Nidra Jayomaya Pisachita Kole. Yeah. Excuse me. Something got stuck. Maybe it's my Krishna consciousness. It got stuck. So, Hare Krishna. I have to unstuck it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, now it's working. Okay. Put your foot on the gas and get the pedal to the metal and zoom away to Vaikuntha. No, Goloka. So, yeah, it's not a play. It's not a time to get lax, because it is, especially in the winter time, where it's there's more energy needed in order to perform devotional service. You have to somehow or other fight against the cold weather, fight against so many things. It's just, and of course, this is flu season. They're talking about coronavirus, but then Mrs. Flu comes in too. Hello, Mrs. Flu, how are you? I'm looking for some candidates. Okay. So she's always active looking for somebody. Flu season, virus season, colds, fevers, so many things. December is a month where people generally get more sick than other time. I remember last year we were here in Ljubljana, and this is the month that all the devotees got, not all, but many of the devotees got sick last month, remember? Right? You went to Christmas vacation and you took a long vacation. Forgot to come back. So it was, because devotees were getting sick. So you have to be very careful and make sure you eat properly and get enough rest, not in the temple. And get some exercise. I know it's hard to exercise during this time, but it's important you do that. And read the books, because now as the weather becomes cold, we more go internal, and we have more time for reading and studying. So here's a good time to read those books that you wanted to read, and especially keep Srimad Bhagavatam very foremost in the reading. So never get lazy. Always become diligent. How can I serve now? That's the principle. The mind should always be thinking, how can I serve now? Or at least be thinking of Krishna, either one of those two. Either you're thinking how to serve and then serving, or else you're thinking of Krishna. If you're in that energy, then you are free from the effects of the material energy. And then you'll make nice progress. Sometimes we have our favorite times of the year. Or maybe December's not the favorite one for some of us. But still, the material energy always gives you opportunities to somehow or other move forward if you look for it. Look for it very carefully, like that. And so a devotee, even if they're put into a difficult situation, doesn't complain or doesn't blame anybody else. Sometimes like to blame somebody. Well, it's his fault because this is what happened to me. If she did it, it's not my fault. Sometimes we don't say it, but we think like that. So yeah, we have to be somewhat, what we say, always remembering Krishna, or always thinking how to serve, like that. Devotees take rest. Why do they take rest? So they can get energy for the next day. The body rejuvenates during the rest period, so we can serve. We don't take rest like, whew, wow, finally got to go to sleep. Phew. Boy, I've been feeling terrible. I want to just void out and go into the no zone, and just me and nothing. Because the non-devotees, they sleep so much. Why? It's not always because they're tired, but it's because they're frustrated. Because material life does bring frustration. And sleep is more like a way out of the frustration, but it's not the solution, of course. So people sleep so much just because they're not happy. When you're happy, you don't sleep so much. The more happy you are, the more you want to express that happiness naturally through the activities of devotional service, like that. And so devotees think, oh, I gotta sleep, but it's necessary to keep body and mind together, and also the soul. So yeah, I do that, but I can't wait for that alarm clock to go ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Oh yes, time to get up. I told you that one story. Maybe you weren't here for it, some of you. That one devotee, one girl was chasing him, wanted to marry him, one brahmachari. He was the leader of the brahmacharis. And she kept, she was going to the altar every day, making her prayers. I need this Prabhu for my Mahaprabhu, So she wanted to have a Prabhu in her life. So she was praying to them, to Mahaprabhu for Prabhu, And so we were noticing that. I used to notice that she'd go on the altar or go right in front of the deities and do her thing. And so this one devotee, he found out that she was after him. Then he was thinking, should I get married or should I not? He was the leader of the brahmacharis. So he decided, he couldn't decide. And the different devotees were saying, no, you stay brahmachari. Others were saying, you may, and there were different opinions. And so he decided to make an experiment. So we had a lake in New Vrindavan, which was right across from the temple. It was a man-made lake. And so he decided, we had a raft. We built a lake and we put a raft in the middle of the lake. So he decided, I'm going to go to sleep on that raft in the middle. And if I wake up on the east side, I'll stay brahmachari. And if I wake up on the west side, I'll get married. This was the program. True story. And so he laid down. And so then at one point he woke up. And he was on the east side, brahmachari side. But it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. It was early. He was thinking, I never get up this early. So he went back to sleep. wedding bells were ringing. Swaha, swaha, swaha. So, yeah. So that's what happened. So that's what happens when you oversleep. You never know what's going to... There's so many... Yeah, Srila Prabhupada, when he came back from traveling in India, he came back to the U.S. and he made a nice statement, Jai, Sisi Pancha Tattva Ki Jai. Prabhupada said, out of the 4 bodily activities, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, he said the worst is oversleeping. We were thinking it was another one. But Prabhupada said, no, the worst is... And then he clarified, he said, oversleeping means your senses become very strong and material energy looks good. Material energy starts... And he says, life is short, and so wasting excess sleep means wasting time when you could be using that time for Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada made that statement, oversleeping out of all is the... So we need to rest, and sometimes when we get older, the body is a little bit less, functional. But look at Prabhupada. I mean, look, when he was, the older he got, the less he slept, and still he had problems. Sometimes he would, not even sleep at all, goes right through, and just keep preaching. Sometimes he would be traveling and just preach right through. And Shyam Sundar, when he writes about Srila Prabhupada, he's amazed to see how Prabhupada, would continue to travel, to preach, to meet people, to open temples, to, translate his books. He was like amazing. Prabhupada, of course, Prabhupada, no one can imitate Prabhupada. We don't expect to do what Prabhupada do. It's not humanly possible. He was fully on the transcendental platform. But Prabhupada said you should try to reduce your eating and sleeping. And then gradually, then the intelligence becomes sharper. When you reduce eating and sleeping, generally not to a point where you can't function or it's too little, but then the mind becomes sharper, because if we sleep too much and we eat too much, what happens is we fall into the lower modes of passion and ignorance, and what happens? Then we can't really clearly think in Krishna consciousness. And we also get a little lazy. Like that. So therefore one should always be diligent to take what one needs to keep body and soul together, and then work hard for Krishna. And Prabhupada said, eat sufficiently, but work hard for Krishna. Sometimes devotees would fast, and then when they would fast, they would take extra rest. Prabhupada said, no, give him prasadam, better to do your service. Don't become weak because of fasting, or spaced out because of fasting. But at the same time, we're always thinking, not always thinking, but where the idea is to make sure we can reduce to the point of nil. When Prabhupada was sick in his final days, when he was in Vrindavan, he was saying, I can't eat, I'm not sleeping, there's no question of mating and defending, I'm liberated. He said that, I'm liberated. So, he was just giving a little humor, but at the same time he was telling us, this is the process. Don't wait till the last minute and try to give up everything at the last minute. It doesn't work. We have to gradually reduce and increase our Krishna consciousness. This is the process. And Krishna's there, but as it says here, Sarvasya chaham riddhi sanivisto matab smirta jnanam apohanam cha. He's given you knowledge. He's He's allowing you to remember what you need to remember. And if you want to forget, we should forget about sense gratification. That's the forgetfulness. Okay, so we'll stop here and see if there's any comments or questions. This is one of the old-fashioned classes that we used to give all the time when we first joined the Hare Krishna movement. In those days. Now we're more sophisticated. We don't talk about these things. But we should always be reminded, yeah, it's about reducing eating, sleeping, giving up mating, and defending, keeping social distance. That's a good way to defend. Social distancing. Distancing. Yeah, keep away from another guy, yeah. Distancing, how is that word? Distancing. Oh, I forgot the C. Distancing. Okay. Okay. Any questions, comments, retractions? No questions. Okay. It's 2 days in a row I didn't get any questions. Oh, we got a question from, okay. The question is, can you give class tomorrow? Yeah, is that the question?
It's more about commenting an appeal today. Today we are Hare Krishna. It's more like an appeal and comment. Today we are preparing to go to Harinam, Sankirtan, downtown Ljubljana. So maybe you can say something importance of in spite of the difficult circumstances, can you say a few words about importance of
well, the
going?
Difficulty is just cold, right? That's the only difficulty?
I mean, many levels of difficulties. Mind, weather, restrictions,
well,
tiredness, whatever.
When you get involved in the service, all these things disappear. As soon as you surrender to the service and you go for it, then all of these so-called difficulties just disappear because they're just created by the external energy or by the mind. It's the mind who sees the external energy in a certain way or sees one situation. So as soon as you surrender to the idea, okay, then all these things are gone. But if you start thinking, then, we go back and forth. Should I go? Should I not go? I mean, you have to make a little bit of discrimination at the beginning. But the idea is that if it pleases Krishna and it pleases the devotees, then that should be the motivation. Yeah. So, I mean, Slovenia, everybody in Slovenia is really strong. This is one of the healthiest countries I've ever seen. People don't get sick so much, and they're outside with short-sleeve shirts on in the middle of winter. People seem to be quite robust and healthy in this. And so getting out in the weather is, it's just normal, right? And you'll see, the non-devotees are out there. They're always out there, on their bicycles too. Sometimes I look out in the window in the morning and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning and people are riding on scooters and bicycles, and it's like, how can you ride a bicycle in this weather? It's just like, you just catch that freezing weather. But so if non-devotees can do it, and there's no benefit for them, and they just do it because they want to. We do it, we can do it for Krishna. I can't really speak for myself in this case. It's really hard for me to give this point because if I can go out, I'll go, but if I can't go, I won't go. Sometimes it's like 5 o'clock is my online class. I don't like to give up that class because if I give it up, then somebody else has to do it. And it's usually Sri Devi, and she's out on Sankirtan, so she can't do it either.
Arriva.
So yeah, and that the devotees really want to hear that class. It's building and it's getting more and more support. So, and I'm trying to build it up right now. So that's why it's hard for me to give it up at this point. If Harinam was at a different time, then it would be better.
Thank you. Another question connected with the topic. You spoke about the importance of sleeping or not good habit to oversleep. In the Bhagavatam is mentioned that the sleep is one of the functions of intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate a little?
Yeah,
how that is connected?
Determination, intelligence. Yeah, because when less sleep means that the mind will be a little bit groggy, foggy, soggy, boggy. So yeah, if the mind is dull, sometimes it becomes dull when you don't sleep enough. So when you get proper rest, generally the intelligence is usually functioning more naturally. If you're tired, I give you an example. This is something that I both experienced and read about. When you don't have enough sleep, when you're tired, you can remember to do the big things, but you forget the little things. You want to go out shopping and you're going to use your car, so you run out the door and then you get to your car and you realize you left the keys on the table in the house. So less sleep or when the intelligence is down, you forget the little things. And sometimes these little things are important because like that. Now, the big things you'll necessarily remember, but at the same time, discrimination is a feature of intelligence. And so sometimes to discriminate between sleeping in class and sleeping in the ashram. I know this class is putting everybody to sleep, so yes.
So, Guru Maharaj, on this exact same topic of sleep.
Michael, bring the mic.
Thank you, Vala. Thank you for the class, Guru Maharaj. I'm really thankful for raising the topic of sleep because I find that it's very difficult for my mind to switch off in the night. Many times because of this time difference, I'm meeting clients in the evening, late evening even, and their, trauma and difficulties, and hearing all that, and that goes on. And even though the session is over, it keeps replaying in my mind in the evening, especially when it's late evening.
So you should replay those thoughts that are important, like reading before you take rest, or hearing kirtan, sweet kirtans, not these blockbusters that blow you through the roof, because then you'll be bouncing in the bed too. You should be, you're slowing down, so those activities should be in correlation with slowing down.
See, there's no slowing down, Guru Maharaj. It's like do, and then suddenly turn off the light and go to bed.
Well, I don't do that. You do that, not me.
Okay. I don't know how to slow down and wind down.
Yeah, I listen to some bhajans before I take rest, or I read before I take rest.
Reading.
Or maybe even chant some japa before I take rest.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't usually meet people late at night.
Mm-hmm.
Or stay on the computer and then, shut it off and then expect the mind to shut off after. It does. And the mind sometimes does shut off right after you'd used the computer, but you don't rest properly. Because on the internal level, the mind is still somewhat affected by that energy.
Right. And many times when I wake up, I find that I'm so tired, my brain is not functioning properly, and the days I am rested and I feel refreshed, then the day is so much better and my thinking is so much better.
And when we don't eat so much, because sleep is affected by eating. The problem is that if you want to regulate your sleeping, you have to regulate your eating. That comes first. Once you regulate your eating, then you can regulate your sleeping. If you don't regulate your eating, you won't regulate your sleeping.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's connected directly. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.